There's really four questions to ask yourself when you're designing what your pregame warm-up is. And the reason I give these is not because you as a coach can't figure it out, but I have asked my assistant coaches. Some have played in college, some have just coached at lower levels, then move on up. Others have coached for a while, and I say, hey, why don't you design the pregame warm-up? That's something me as a head coach, I don't have to be in control of. And they usually come back with a lot of questions, or they come back with, well, I think this might work, but I'm not really sure. What do you think? How do you feel about this? And I honestly think that the pregame warm-up, obviously the assistant wants to do a good job, but if you're not asking the right questions, it can be hard to fill in those blanks. Is what are we going to do? So these four questions are: what do we emphasize on offense? So I'm not looking at our opponents right now, but I'm looking at what we do, and that's tends to be 90, 95, even 100% of our pregame warm-up. It deals with us as a team, not as much as what the other team is going to do. Okay, so what do we emphasize on offense? My team specifically, we like to make sure that we go inside out. We like to drive and kick. We like to get it into the post and then play out, kick it to the outside to get shots. We like to try to draw two defenders. Those kind of things that are they're unscripted. They're not plays that you run. So we want to get those into our warm-ups. Next is, what do we emphasize on defense? We're a forced baseline defense. If you haven't checked out my course on the forced baseline defense, that's inside the coaching lab. You can also, I'll put a link to it if you just want to buy the standalone product. You can do that as well. But we want to make sure that we are emphasizing that. We don't want people cutting in front of us. So using a drill, like in a shell drill, where we are jumping in front of the cutter, making them go behind us, where we're forcing teams to the baseline. We like to front the post. So getting in front of the post player in a drill. All of those things. And that's where you can have some variation from team to team. If a team has a post player that you're going to have to front, then you need to make sure that you practicing that and everybody's getting as many reps as you possibly can in the few minutes that you have. But it's just a reminder of what it is that you want your team to do. So it's, what do you emphasize on defense? Make sure that you're doing that as well. What do our players want to do? Now, this is one where coaches, I think, sometimes overlook it. You need to get your players' input. And I can tell you the number one thing that players want to do is shoot. They always ask for more shooting time, and that is extremely important. I want my players to be confident. We try to put them in situations where they can get easy shots and then work their way to a harder shot. If they're a three-point shooter, we want them to get a lot of reps. If they're a post player, we want them to get touches in the post. But ask your players. I have had players come in and guards will say, I need more ball handling, or I want to get some defensive pressure up top just to get used to, making moves and getting a feel for the game that way. That's a very valuable thing. And I want my players to feel comfortable with what they want to do in the game as well. So I always like to ask them, and we tweak things. Once we put it on paper, we're going to tweak some things, maybe a couple of times before we get it where we really, really want it. And then how much time do you have? If you're dealing with 15 minutes like we are in Michigan, then you have a 15-minute time restraint that you've got to make sure that you're getting everything in. Some places have 10 minutes. I know some go as much as 20. So it all depends on how much time do you have and what can you fit in with that. But once you've asked yourself these things and you put in, what do we really do offensively? What are things that we must do defensively? That's where you start to build in exactly what you want into your warm-up. All right, now we have our pregame warm-ups, and I'm going to give you an example of what we've done in the past. So what my teams have done, make sure that we're getting ourselves geared up. And you can find this template. I'm going to go ahead and bring it up here real quick. But this is right inside the coaching lab. So it's a little tool. It's something that you don't have to go and create yourself. You can go in and grab a copy of it. But under coaches tools, and let's see, we were going to go down to, see if we can find it here real quick. Game prep, there it is. All right, so we're going game prep and then game matchup and warm up template. So this is what I use. It's a little half sheet of paper. Coaches have really gotten into the last couple of years giving each other lineups. I've never done that. You certainly can. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you're a coach who likes to print off a lineup for the other teams, so they don't have to go look in the book. I have an assistant coach do our matchups typically. So If they give me a lineup or they got to go look inside the book, it doesn't really matter to me. But anyways, that's something I've noticed that a few years ago they didn't do it all. Now, probably over half the coaches do. But here's our warm up. So this is how we kind of start things off. I tried to find a video of this so I could show you us going through it, but the camera, our camera person doesn't typically video the warm ups, and the new system that we have pans back and forth, so you can only see parts of it. So I figured it wasn't worth it if we're only going to see part of it. But we do tip. So we tip it off the backboard first. Allows everybody to get through about 30 seconds for 12, 13 guys to tip it off the backboard. We go right into a star passing. Star passing, there are 5 spots, basically 1 under the hoop, 2 kind of free throw line extended, and then 2 kind of in the 15-foot short corner area. But it's just like it sounds. You pass across and you follow your pass, and you make a star pattern with it. Just gets the guys moving, gets them passing, crisp passes, that kind of thing. We go right into layups with defense and then without defense. So the layups with defense is going to be where they're going to be guarded a little bit. They're going to have to go against some contact and make sure they finish. The layups without defense, if we wanted to do it that way, it's going to be more of a traditional layup line. We have done this year, actually, our layups were backdoor. So we had backdoor cutters, and we got the ball into them that way. Partner shooting and ball handling, half the team is shooting, and they have a partner that's rebounding for them. So maybe 3 guys shooting, 3 guys rebounding. And then up top, we have the other 6 guys who are doing ball handling and defense against the ball handler. And then we flip-flop them. So you can see there's quite a bit of time here, 4 minutes of it. So everybody gets their shots in. We go shell drill. And shell drill, we like to get everybody just some reps. Again, this is just reiterating what we have done in our practice leading up to that game. And then free throws, get everybody shooting on the free throw line. So this is what we use. We'll put the opponent's name, numbers down here, and then we have it. A lot of times I give this to an assistant coach. I put the times on there, or they put the times on there, depending on who made it, so that we make sure that we're not going to miss something. We're not going to run out of time. All right, so nothing huge here, but a nice little template that makes it really easy to get through things. All right, now we're going a little too far. You want to make sure that you're practicing your warm-ups before the game. So, and I don't mean like right before the game. I mean a couple practices before. If your first game's a Tuesday night and you practice on Friday, do it on Friday. And then if you practice over the weekend, do it over the weekend. Do it on Monday so that you can tweak it. It's the timing of it that becomes really critical, and it gives your players confidence when they know what to do. Your assistant coach will stand down there the first time and kind of help them out getting to the next drill. But if they've done it 2 or 3 times in practice, they typically do a really good job of getting exactly what they need and doing things quickly and not looking like, okay, where we got to go next. So we're getting our players comfortable with the routine. And then we talked a little bit about assigning an assistant coach to the warm-ups. You can do it yourself if you want. I've done it myself, but that gives one more thing for an assistant coach to do, to be in charge of, to make sure that the players are ready to go and they're focusing on the right things and they're really dialed into what we want to get done. All right, now this is our actual warm-up from this year. So this is how we did it. Again, the 15 minutes. Went the tips and the star passing, took us almost about 2 minutes, a little less than 2 minutes. We had the backdoor layups instead of regular layups. An emphasis of ours this year was trying to get some backdoor cuts and some opportunities, so we put that into our warm-ups. The drive and kick three-pointers. We do a lot of drive and kick and trying to shoot the 3. So we incorporated that into our warm-up because that was one of our strengths this year. The post was not a huge strength of ours, but we needed to figure out ways to get ourselves comfortable shooting the 3. Zigzag dribbling is exactly what it sounds like. It's a defender and an offensive player, and you're doing a zigzag dribbling down the court. So we did that, got everybody through that, and went to partner shooting. So in the 8 and the 6 is basically when they changed. So half the guys were shooting, half the guys were up top, doing ball handling, stretching, whatever it was they wanted to do, and then we flipped them. So they got 2 minutes with their partner, and then the other group got 2 minutes with their partner. The shell drill, again, we had that in the last one, and 2 minutes for free throws gave us time. Everybody got 2 free throws. In the previous year, not everybody would always get 2, so we kind of line it up so the guys are going to shoot the free throws first in the game got more shots than the guys who weren't, but this allowed everybody to get it. And then any key notes. So if I was printing this off and there's somebody who was going to be out for the game, somebody wasn't going to start for the other team, any adjustments I needed to make, we had those things down.